Okay. Hi. My name is Rosie,
No. That one's going to make a noise.
Hi. My name's Rosie, and this is Catherine.
Hi.
And this is our podcast.
26 to life, where after 26 years of friendship, we have officially been together longer than a life sentence. So now we are telling each other true crime stories every week, twice a week. We do our best. We're here when we're here.
It's my turn. Yeah, we do it when we can. But yes, today it is
in between our
27
other jobs that we have to try and do to pay the bills.
Yeah, we try and do one that's like passion project.
Passion project. That's what this is. This is our passion project.
It would be really nice if this could actually make some money.
It would be. It would be amazing. But we have about 14 other jobs each, so...
Yeah, I'm so tired.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired and I'm still so poor.
Same.
Sad. Before we get started, I would like to say that listener discretion is advised.
Wow, you struggled with that one.
I know, I just always think of I don't know what way to say it. The words just don't come to me. So, this story does involve murder, abuse, and that's, there's some adult themes throughout, so, just be careful when you listen to it, and I'm just gonna...
Adult themes throughout. Rose is about to tell us, a porno.
No, Maxwell Garvie. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
What?
No.
Have you actually?
No.
Why did you do that to me? He was a farmer, but not the kind that you'd find on the fields getting his hands dirty. He was the kind that delegated. You know,
It's my management style.
Yeah. He hired the people, everyone else did the hard labour, and he did management. And it meant that he made a lot of money. His parents were wealthy, and his family pretty much owned a lot of land in this general area, which was...
Did you say his name was Gareth?
Pardon?
Did you say his name was Gareth?
Maxwell.
What's his surname?
Garvie.
Wow, I got that so confused in my head.
What is wrong with you?
Menopause. Go on.
His family owned a lot of land in the general area around where he lived, which was in Scotland, in an area called Kinky, which is north. You don't even need to know. It's just Scotland. Let's just say North Scotland.
North of the wall, yeah.
Around, Aberdeenshire. But his family were pretty wealthy. He was rich, driving sports cars, that kind of thing, fancy suits.
It's like us. This guy is so like us.
You did say that you were going to be driving with roof down, which makes me think, fancy convertible.
No, I just haven't. It's not a convertible. It's just got a window in the ceiling.
You're basically Max Garvie. A window in the ceiling.
Panoramic roof, that's the word.
Oh,
go on.
Nice. So in 1955, so this was quite a while ago, this wasn't like now. I feel like the fact that he was rich then, by our standards, means that he was rich, you know? Because, you could be rich in the 50s, and it'd be it just meant that you could buy extra sugar. I don't know, I'm thinking Victorian times. Anyway, it's the same thing. But the fact that he's, driving sports cars, and we, can consider him rich, even
there was
now.
a much bigger gap between the rich and poor. The rich were rich.
Yeah.
The poor were poor.
Yeah.
And it was you didn't really have the middle group of people who could... Yeah, you did, but not to the same extent that we do today.
Yeah, 100%. So in 1955, he married a woman called Sheila, who was a housemaid at Balmoral Castle.
Sorry, two things. Firstly, I was incorrect before. That comes beforehand. Around the 50s, there would have been that middle class, but just not as many of them. Secondly, Balmoral Castle. Queen was born there?
Yeah, she lived there.
She died there.
She died there.
She did, yeah.
But that's the royal estate. And so she was working there as a housemaid. But they got married. That was neither here nor there. That was just a fun fact.
Do you want my fun fact about it?
No. And they made their home. Go on, tell me. About
You do.
Tell me a fun fact.
My grandma, who we loved, Wawa,
Yeah.
her mum grew up in Scotland. She was Scottish. And so her friend at the park was the Queen's mum. And they used to go and play together. Obviously, she wasn't the Queen's mum at the time.
Aww.
Because she married into the royal family, so she wasn't like...
Yeah.
But they were little park friends. She probably ditched my great-grandma after she married into the royal family.
Yeah, probably.
We won't.
Wait. Oh, I see. Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
See, told you it was a fun fact.
Yeah, it was fun. Fine, I'll allow it.
What time do you need to be done today? She's got time today, guys. She's got time.
No, I'm actually okay. I'm a little bit more breezy. It's just... You give me a lot of shit during these, you know?
I just wanted to share my fun fact.
Sometimes I just don't know whether what you're going to share is relevant or whether we're going to go on a tangent about, like, I don't know, yogurt and peanut butter.
I thought that was pre-recording talk.
That was.
Actually,
but I can imagine that's the kind of thing that you would bring up on, like...
I actually had a thought the other day if I want to learn how... No, this is relevant to what you're saying. Okay. If I want to learn how to draw, and I thought, why don't I use this time to practice drawing so I'm not distracting you?
How is that relevant? That's not relevant to right now.
No, okay, but it's to keep me occupied.
No, stop it. So they made their home, Sheila and Max, we call him Maxwell, and they made their home at West Cairnbeg Farm, which is located in the same Kincardine region, about 30 miles southwest of Aberdeen, so same kind of area. Now, I could find Sheila's date of birth. Her date of birth was October 26th, 1934, but Max's I could not find anywhere. Everything that I found, it just said DOB, unknown. So, but I'm assuming they're around the same age. So at this age, they would have been 34, 21? 21. From the outside, they seem to have it all. Wealth, beauty, connections, and they had a lot of fun. They had 3 kids within a few years of getting married, and they lived what many people described as a charmed life. Max brought in lots of money, they didn't have to do much work to get it, and they were well respected in the area. Everybody knew them. However, it seemed that Max was never satisfied. He would buy expensive cars, even a plane, and he would drink heavily. Sometimes up to 4 bottles of whiskey in a week, which is...
What?
A lot! And he would also pair this with the abuse of prescription drugs.
Jugs.
Yeah, lots of prescription jugs. With
Babies!
Prescription drugs.
4 bottles of whiskey.
4 bottles of whiskey!
Oh my god!
So much!
I still have that rum sat in the cupboard that you left here.
I did not buy rum.
Someone brought it for you from somewhere. Maybe it was...
Wait, is it the white rum?
Yeah, maybe.
Is it Kasike?
No.
No, I don't know them.
Anyway, that's so much.
That's
what
so much.
The heck?
That's unhealthy. That is
like
unhealthy.
You're gonna be dead.
That's liver damage. Yeah, immediately. And then in the mid-60s, he bought a cottage and he started planting trees around the outskirts of this property. And you know, many people thought, fair enough, because it's windy in Scotland, it will protect his property from the wind.
Oh.
But no, it was because he wanted to host parties. But not just any parties, he wanted to host nudist parties.
Oh my god, so it might have actually been prescription drugs. Go on.
It was almost like a little nudist colony, what he was creating. And Sheila wasn't actively part of this at first. She just wanted her husband to be happy. But he soon pressured her into joining this nudist club and posing for erotic photographs, which progressed even further when he wanted even more from her. He was never satisfied and often complained his wife's weight and their sex life. And around 1966, Max met someone called Brian Tevendale, who was at 21 years old. They became friends, so they must have been in their 30s now at this point. But Max and Brian became friends quite quickly, and it was said that Max wanted to sleep with Brian, but Brian refused. So, naturally, he thought, if I can't have him, then my wife can sleep with him. And so he encouraged Sheila to sleep with Brian.
You weren't joking. I was joking when I said it was a porno.
Oh, no, this is happening. He encouraged Sheila to sleep with Brian.
Leo is not editing this episode.
Yeah, definitely. I edit this. He's not allowed to listen to this episode.
I need to tell him.
No kids allowed. No kids allowed.
Leo, if you are listening to this, I swear to God, turn it off and go away.
Turn it off immediately.
Now.
Shut your ears and forget everything that Tia has just said.
That's not even Tia. I don't know why you're here.
Who is that? Who is talking?
Ew!
Wait, it gets worse. So, Sheila and Brian were sleeping with each other, and Brian then started sleeping with Max's sister, Trudy.
This is so incesty.
Trudy was also married. Her husband was called Alfred, and he would also often get involved. And Max also found him another extramarital partner to sleep with. So there were around like 6 of them, and they all were just kind of sleep with each other, except for like Brian and his sister, because that's weird. And they would often have orgies at their house. So now this cottage was often referred
Wait. Whose sister? Max's sister.
Brian's sister.
Brian's sister was doing what?
So Brian's sister was sleeping with Max.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Brian was sleeping with Max's wife and Max's sister.
No. So Sheila is sleeping with Brian. Max is sleeping with Brian's sister Trudy. And then Trudy's husband, Alfred, is just kind of there and like a free agent and also sleeping with other people.
Is it a bit like swingers?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit like swingers.
Which, you know, everyone, you do you. But I don't like the fact that Sheila was like pressured into it.
Yeah, I know.
That's the gross bit.
Yeah, that is the gross bit. But, okay, so, wait. So they were soon hosting orgies, and this little cottage that they had bought was soon referred to as Kinky Cottage.
Oh, my life.
Sheila felt like she had to comply for the sake of her marriage, because, I mean, in the 60s, what was the situation with the divorce like? But I feel like not, I don't know, it wasn't as like common as it would be now. The Garvies pretty much found in Brian and Trudy what they could not find in their own marriage. So although Sheila loved Max, she was happy that Max had found this kinky thrill seeker out in Trudy, while Sheila had found someone who had a calmer sex expectations than her husband. However, Max instilled a strict rule for their arrangement, and that was that nobody could fall in love. But
you're an idiot, Max.
Yeah, literally. Obviously,
Sheila's in love with Brian.
Despite having absolutely everything he could possibly want, he had the cars, the money, the clothes, the wife, and the mistress. Max was still not happy because Sheila loved Brian more than she loved him. And you would think that Max would just let her get on with it. Like, he was having his cake and eating it too, you know? He was... What did he have to complain about? It was just the fact that he wasn't in control of the situation anymore, I guess. And so Max began abusing Sheila. And he called off the arrangement and said, nope, no more. You fell in love. You broke all the rules. That's it. But Sheila kept on seeing Brian in secret. Sheila wanted to leave Max, but she felt like she couldn't because of the kids. And what's more, she was told that she couldn't either. So, like I said, divorce was not as easy to come by. Lawyers said that they wouldn't help her because she was technically an adulterer, even though
So was he.
Yeah, so was he. And she was only an adulterer because Max told her to sleep with this other man. So lawyers wouldn't help her. Her priest and her own mother even told her that she had to stay for the sake of the kids. Her own mother, who knew everything, she would confide in her mother and say, he's beating me up.
Awkward.
He's sleeping with women.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was confiding in her about, like, the nudist colony.
I mean, everything. She told her mum everything. And her mum still said, no, you have to stay for the kids. And it's like, well, the kids probably shouldn't be privy to them being in a violent relationship, but... okay. Different times. She tried to leave at least twice, but she always returned. Once because Max threatened to shoot her and their 3 kids if she didn't come back.
Oh, Max, you utter troll diaper.
I know. Oh my god. I thought we'd only been recording for like 9 minutes, and I was like, this case is gonna be really, really quick. I was like, okay, we're almost done. Once in 1968, in March, after returning once again, Max was so mad he assaulted her and broke her neck, which required her to wear a brace. Yeah. Thankfully, she wasn't paralysed, but she obviously was under strict rest for a while, and she wasn't able to do everything.
What's the actual hell?
Yeah, I know. And as if to drive home her belief that nobody could help her escape her unhappy marriage, the physician who examined Sheila actually called Max and basically said, your wife has just snitched on you and said that you were the one that hurt her. Like, what? How? Like, I would be fuming. Imagine confiding in your doctor that your husband has just been abusing you and
has broken your
neck, and he calls her husband and is like, BTW, your wife's a snitch.
You need to stop with that.
I know, I'm getting mad and I'm slamming my hands around. What the hell? I'm quite mad about this.
That is unbelievable and unacceptable. I hope that person was disbarred from ever practicing medicine again, which they probably weren't. Leo also has a game going as to who swears more. And so far you are losing.
Well, because I swear more.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like I'm winning.
No, he doesn't think so.
Sugar.
He'll be like, oh, Tia! And he was like, this was your one, Mum. You won this one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because he doesn't like swearing at all.
I'm sorry, Leo. Oh, now I'm just laying him down.
Don't worry, he's not listening to this episode. Swear as much as you want.
Thank fuck. But anyway, that seemed to be the last straw. So, in May 1968, so March, April, May, 2 months? 2 months after this incident, Max was reported missing.
Excellent. Sheila and Brian have killed him.
I read that it was his sister that reported him missing, but then I also heard in the podcast that Sheila was the one that reported him missing. But either way, he wasn't around, essentially. Anywho, no one seemed too concerned at first because he was quite volatile and he would often remember I said that he bought a plane, he was a recreational pilot, and he would often take his plane and fly off somewhere for brief stretches of time and then return again.
Sounds like a professional twat, if I'm honest.
I know, tell me about it. And although they went and checked the airport and his car was there, his plane was also there, but apparently he would also often borrow other people's planes. Imagine just being that rich that you could just borrow your friends' planes.
Yeah, but I think I would not want to be this man.
No, oh goodness no. But after 3 months...
Money doesn't buy class.
Amen. And we have neither.
But at least we know people who do.
Do we?
Well, we know the difference if we were to meet them.
Oh, yeah. Oh. So, after 3 months, he was still considered a missing person. Again, there was no foul play suspected. Nobody even thought that any bad had come to him. They just thought he just disappeared, got drunk. I don't know, maybe he'd crashed his plane or forgotten how to get home. Who knows?
They don't really care, do they? They're a bit like, this is nice and peaceful.
Yeah, no one really cared. But after 3 months, a lady called Edith went to the police.
Oh, shut up, Edith.
Edith told the police that her daughter had confided in her that she thought that Max had been killed and would not be returning home. Her daughter was Sheila!
What? Why on earth? Edith, you stupid head!
You stupid head. Sheila, why the hell? If you told your mother that your husband was beating you up and you wanted to leave and she said, no, stay for the kids, what
are you telling her?
Would you tell her? Why would you think that she would be
a confidant?
A confidant. Like, if you had murdered your husband, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't. But Sheila and her big mouth, and Edith her even bigger mouth, somehow the police obviously
Edith is quite clearly as thick as 2 planks, because if she hasn't worked out he was beating her up, he's now gone missing, she reckons he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you just be like, understood, thank you very much?
Oh gosh, yes, you would have been like, say no more.
My mum would be like, what do you need me to get rid of?
Oh yeah, definitely.
She's probably the one who suggested it.
It was probably your mum that did it, to be honest.
I'm like, Mum, where is he?
Where is that man?
And my mother can keep a secret. No one, that would go to the grave.
Oh yeah. Lillian, she would 100%. She would be so chill about it as well. I could just tell.
And if she ever did get caught, she'd be like, yeah, well, you know, they hurt my daughter, so I don't...
Yeah, exactly. And you'd be like, Mum, where is she? Where is he? And she'd be like, oh, my darling, don't you worry about that anymore. You would be like,
oh, God.
Oh, my darling, don't be so silly. I love it so much.
Slightly wary of my mother now.
No, that's the kind of mum I aspire to be.
Yeah, you will be. I've seen how you are with your dog.
So true. So true. So, police arrest both Sheila and Brian, and this is when they can start piecing together what happened. Sheila remained composed during her interview, but Brian broke down and all but confessed to his involvement of the murder, and eventually even led them to where they could find Max's body. The corpse was recovered from Lauriston Castle on 17th of August in 1968, which was around 3 months after he was reported missing. So there was basically a tunnel underneath the castle. I don't really know what this tunnel was, but apparently the only reason Brian knew about this tunnel was because he used to hide in it when he was a kid. And then I thought, imagine if there were other kids that were hiding in this after they hid this body. That would be traumatic. But it was...
So they didn't bury him or anything, they just chucked him in a tunnel?
No, but it was quite deep into this tunnel. So it was around 3 feet wide and about 4.5 feet tall. And what?
That is terrifying.
Yeah. And apparently there was a policeman who had to crawl into the tunnel, and he could smell it, but he had to crawl into the tunnel to try and to confirm that there was a body there. And then they couldn't figure out how to get him out. So instead of like...
Can't they just pull him?
Yeah, but then you'd be like smearing him along the whole tunnel, losing valuable evidence along the way.
Oh shit, the skin's come off.
So what they did is that they actually drilled down directly above him and then lifted him out, so they were able to...
Can I just point out, we're only making jokes because this man is awful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that sad he's dead.
No, me either.
Like, he broke his wife's neck.
Oh. Well, yeah, no, what a dick. So, yeah, they basically extracted him by digging down and, like, picking him up and just, like, bringing him up again. So, yeah. Now, obviously, they all told slightly different stories. So, Brian, during his version of events, he also introduced a friend called Alan, who they said was involved. So, he also was arrested. So, we have the accounts of Sheila, Brian, and this man called Alan Peters. And as with most stories, Brian was blaming Sheila was blaming Brian, and Alan was blaming both of them. And so we can kind of put the story together based on, the grey areas in between. That what they say, the story kind of lays in between. The real story lays in between all of the other ones. So, this is...
The story's in there somewhere.
The story's in there somewhere, and this is the story that has been told of that fateful night. So, in the early morning hours of the 15th of May in 1968... Brian and his friend Alan. Now, I don't know why Alan was there to begin with, to be honest with you. Maybe he was just
sleeping with Trudy or someone.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. They entered Max and Sheila's house. Sheila let them in, hid them in a spare room, and they pretty much just waited there, hidden, until Maxwell arrived home, obviously drunk after one of his 4 bottles of whiskey, and he fell asleep in their bed. Sheila gave Brian her husband's rifle. He went into the bedroom, hit Max over the head, and then held a pillow over his head and shot him through the pillow so as to muffle the sound. The kids were still in the house at this time. The kids were in the house when they murdered him.
Surely there's got to be an easier way to kill this man who is, like, such a raging alcoholic.
Yeah, you would think.
Like, stick your fingers down his throat while he's lying on his back.
Well, yeah, you would have just been able to, I don't know, like, wire? Stick your
No, but
fingers
if you...
down his throat?
Well, he'll be sick
what?
and it will just... And then it's not on you.
That's so true. Or you would have, like, given him some bad pills or something if he's on prescription drugs. Like, I don't know, just
slip
swap
a couple
them out.
more in.
Yeah, swap them out for something more potent.
Yeah, they really, really went about this all wrong. I have notes, guys.
So, Brian, they all pretty much said that it was Brian that shot Max. So, Sheila said that Brian shot him. Brian said that it was Sheila that shot him, but within, like, a struggle. But Alan also said that Brian shot Max.
Right.
There were some kind of, like, one of them said that he was hit over the head beforehand and by somebody else, and then Brian shot him. Oh my god, there are so many names. And then Brian shot him, and so was he technically dead before he got shot? So, I don't know. But everyone was pretty much saying that it was Brian that shot him, except for Brian. He was saying that it was Sheila, but we don't believe Brian, because if Alan was, like, one of his closest friends, and even he is saying he's not trying to cover up the fact that Brian...
I know, but Brian was the only one who tried to make it out like it was in a struggle. I know that's really actually very rare for it to happen. Like, you've got a rifle, you're struggling over a rifle, and you accidentally shoot someone in the face.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, no. So Brian and Alan loaded Max's body into their car, and they drove to the castle and dumped him in the tunnel. Now, the police had said that if Brian hadn't told them where this body was,
they never would have found it.
Never would have found him.
If Edith had kept her mouth shut.
If Sheila had kept her mouth shut, why the flip would you tell your mother that? That would be going to the grave with me. There's no way I'd be telling anyone that I'd murdered my husband.
But she didn't tell him that, she just thought, oh, I think he's dead.
Yeah, but come on.
I don't know. I don't think I'd be a great secret keeper with that one.
No?
I'd have to tell someone. No, it would
yeah,
be...
but you tell me, and I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah, or my mum. She's a steel trap, that woman.
Yeah, she is. So, obviously, there was a trial. Despite all saying different things and all pretty much admitting to their involvement, they all said not guilty. This became a huge trial. It was like... People described it as a media firestorm. Like I said, they were all saying different things. They all had slightly different stories. But in November of 1968, Sheila and Brian were found guilty of murder. Alan was found not proven, which is apparently a verdict which is...
In Scotland.
Only in Scotland. Which is not guilty, but it's not guilty. Either. So it's almost like saying, we think that you're guilty, but
Yeah, because
there's
if
not
you
enough
say
evidence to prove it.
yeah, because if you say not guilty, means that you think that they didn't do it, so they want something that's like we just couldn't prove it. Yeah,
Exactly.
but it is only in Scotland. I didn't know that.
Okay. I'd never heard of that before. And although throughout this whole time Sheila had declared that she loved Brian, and they did keep on writing letters to prison,
Even though
to
they
each other's
both blamed
prisons,
each other.
even though they both blamed each other. After a while, in 1969, so it was only a few months after they were incarcerated, Sheila sent Brian a letter saying, "I've decided to have nothing more to do with you ever again. Please burn all of my love letters that I've written to you." And they never spoke again.
Do you know who I feel so sorry for? Those 3 kids.
Oh my goodness, I know.
Stuck with Edith.
Bloody Edith. So although they both received life sentences, they were both released in 1978. So they literally only did...
That's 10 years.
10 years for killing Maxwell Garvie.
Why? Good behaviour.
I guess so. It was their first crime.
They probably just thought the area's so much more peaceful without this man around.
Yeah, they probably thought actually...
It was actually... Do you know what? You did a bit of community service when you killed him.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, pretty much. After his release from prison, Brian and Sheila never ever spoke to each other again. Brian relocated to Perthshire in Scotland, not in Australia, where he became the landlord of a pub. Is
he still there?
No, he died in 2003 of a suspected heart attack. But he did
Is the pub still there?
I'm not sure.
We can go.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, deal. In 1999, he did give an interview to Glasgow-based Daily Record in which he detailed his perspective of the murder. And he kind of mused whether or not he thought that Sheila ever actually loved him, or if it was just her trying to... At one point, perhaps she did love him, but then after a while, it was like she knew that this was a means to an end and that she could use him to ultimately kill him.
Or could it also be she didn't love him, but she
He was nicer than her husband.
Yeah, she probably didn't know what love was. Because she's with this one here who's, no good.
Yeah.
And that one, at least he's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he also said that he had no intention of talking to her ever again.
Did they plan it?
It was never really... That was never really spoken about. I mean, I guess they must have done because they asked Alan to come and help. So they knew that they must have had a plan. Otherwise, why would you ask this random man to come along, hide in the spare room? Because what would they have said to Alan? Oh, come along, we're going to kill this man. You got to hide in this room for us and then help us get rid of the body.
Yeah.
Alan must have known what was going on, so they must have told him, so they must have had some kind of a plan. Because otherwise, Alan would have just been sitting there in the spare room
Now what?
You got any board games or anything?
You invited me for a nudist party. Why am I here?
Why are we sitting here fully clothed?
Why is it just me?
Yeah. Exactly.
Are they having sex next door?
Genuinely. Stupid. So I think that it must have been planned, and I think that after Max broke Sheila's neck, I think that she obviously... She knew that she wanted to leave, and they had tried to leave multiple times, but she obviously felt trapped. So I don't know how far in advance it was planned, but I feel like they must have had some idea, because Brian also knew exactly where he was going to hide this body as well. The
thing is, I'm not saying murder is okay, but there are situations where someone is so trapped, the lawyers won't help her family won't help her.
Yeah.
She's literally...
The doctor wouldn't help her.
The doctor wouldn't help her. She's going to die eventually because he's already broken her neck once. What's going to happen next?
Yeah. It sucks. The system sucks. There's not enough in place. Not enough at all.
I'd like to think it's gotten better, but then we did the Sarah Sharif case and I think, well,
yeah.
maybe not.
Oh my God, tell me about it. So, Sheila Garvie, after her release from prison, returned to her childhood hometown of Stonehaven. and she ran a bed and breakfast in that area where she was often seen walking her dog on the town's beach. In her final years, she lived in a care home, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and died in 2014 at the age of 80. The following year, her youngest son, Lloyd, he owned the farm that they lived at, West Carnbeg Farm, and he actually put it up for sale, selling it for around $750,000.
Is that it?
It was a nice... I mean, in Scotland, it was a 5-bedroom, it was big, and it was nice, but in Scotland, house prices, like, you can... That's pretty standard, £750, and in 2014 as well.
No, but I mean, like, I thought the farm was worth loads. You said that they were raking money in.
They were raking money in. But imagine buying a huge... It was the farmhouse that he sold, not the whole farm, as far as I know. But
I suppose the farm actually only makes money if you've got people working on it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they had money, but it was Max's family that owned a lot as well. So I don't know how much Lloyd would have got, but Lloyd basically put up for sale what he had access to, and that was $750,000 for the house, for the property. But I looked at these pictures of this farm online, and it was quite nice. It was big. I would definitely have bought it if I had £750,000 to spare in 2014.
Yeah, I don't even have £7.50.
I was
2014. We were in year 9.
19. I would have been 19 in 2014.
Oh yeah.
What? Wendy and Angela, which were their 2 older children, they both relocated to England, and in 2002 they did have an interview with the Scotsman, and she spoke about how she liked being distant from Scotland and the past. So that's the story. I mean, it was actually quite a speedy one. There wasn't that much to it.
It was a speedy one. I like it. I like that one. I liked also that I wasn't that emotional about it because I wasn't that sad about the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. I was mad in the run-up to the crime, and I bet for a while you were thinking that it was Sheila that was going to be murdered.
No, I didn't think Sheila was going to be murdered, but I did think Maxwell would be the murderer. And then as soon as you told me that Sheila and Brian were in love and he'd broken Sheila's neck, I was like, oh, they're going to murder him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but prior to that, I was like, Maxwell's the murderer, who's he going to murder?
Yeah, no.
I thought he might have gone on, like, a killing spree through the nudist colony.
Oh my god, imagine the crime scene photo.
Just all these dead, naked people.
Penises everywhere.
Ew. Ew.
Well, thank you very much.
Is it peni?
Penises. I don't know.
Thanks, bye. Love you. Enjoy the sunshine.
Oh my god, it's so nice. It's going to be like, I know, colder than in London, but it's going to be hot for Scotland. I'm going to take this fleece off.
You've not taken a fleece off in Scotland since you lived there.
Yeah, literally for the last 20 months I've been living in fleeces, but I think today
might be the day.
Global warming! Whoop whoop! I'm just kidding, I hate global warming.
Okay, bye.
Bye!